Welcome to Bothering the Band. My name is Ryan Bynack. With me, as always, is the producer of the Shindig, Abigail. Say hello.
Hello.
Oh, man. We have a fantastic episode today. While he was a little tardy, it was well worth the wait. We have TJ from the new band, Miniaturized, born from a collective of bands out of San Diego, including his original band, Buckfast Super B. Miniaturized started as a Tom Petty tribute band and is now spawning into new material. And this working musician comes with the fucking energy. And this episode is so much fun. Get ready, because it's a wild ride. Ladies and gentlemen, Bothering the Band with with TJ, Timothy Joseph of Miniaturized.
Oh my God.
What's up?
Guys, I'm so sorry. Jesus, what a nightmare.
Oh man, it's like one of those things where you can't complain. Like if you complain to someone with real problems, like, oh man, my awesome musician was a little bit late to my fucking podcast. It sounds like a crock of shit.
It does, but like I don't like to waste anybody's time. Like I have to meet with musicians all the time to work with them or play with them or whatever. And when they're late, it fucking irritates me. It's like, wow, man, come on. Like people are counting on you. So Caroline called me and was like, are you supposed to be on the call? I'm like, fuck, oops, shit. And I looked at my phone. I totally blew it. It was my fault. Sorry.
Well, no. Okay, so let's get right into it. One, you're on the other side, right? Because not many musicians we have, some of whom are tardy. You're on the other side where sometimes you're the person depending on the clock and the musician to come do studio time, correct?
Correct.
Oh man. So yeah, so I think the empathy is there. And then also I have to shout out Caroline because she's a fucking gem.
Oh
and
God, amazing. Yeah.
We work with a lot of like representation and PR people and stuff like that. And she on point, answers the questions promptly. And even when we pulsed her about like, hey, is TJ coming? Because there's always something with the West Coast and East Coast, times. And she was back and apparently calling you and be like, what the fuck? So shout out to Caroline. Yeah. And TJ, we're happy to have you, man.
I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for putting up with my tardiness. Fresh off of the Interstate 5. Here I am.
Okay, so we're here to promote a project called Miniaturized, and I have to start off. What we want to hear about that, but I want to know, because I've seen it different ways. I've seen it capitalized, and I've seen it not capitalized. How do you write it?
Not capitalized. It was actually a discussion I had with the guy who designed the logo, a cat by the name of Rick Froberg, who's a great indie rock legend in his own right. He was in a band from San Diego called Drive Like Jehu. He was the singer for that band, and then he's also the singer for a band called Hot Snakes. So
that sounds familiar.
Yeah, and he's a great artist. He lived in New York for a while, but he's back in San Diego now. And when I reached out to him and asked him to design a logo for this thing after I thought of the name. He got back to me and he goes, well, it has to be all lowercase, right? Because that would emphasize the idea. And I was like, you're right. I think that's correct. So I'm just fortunate to know so many forward-thinking artists,
Well, we appreciate any like play on words or any like creativity with design and shit like that. So well done, Rick.
Yeah, check that guy's art out and also check out his bands, namely Drive Like Jehu, Hot Snakes, and Obits as well. All good. Super
very
great.
cool.
Like kind of like the post-punk hardcore stuff. Great,
Did he do any of the artwork? So behind TJ here is a bunch of
just posters and stuff.
Cool posters. You and Abby have the posters rocking.
Yeah.
And I'm primarily seeing a lot of Buckfast, Super B. What else you got up there? I can't really
There's
see.
A lot of stuff up there. It's a bunch of different shows that I attended in my life or was part of in one way or another that kind of meant something to me. And I switch them out every few years because I play more shows and it's an ever evolving wall. Same frames, different pictures. And
Oh, nice.
at the studio too, like I do the same thing. I'm such a fan of music. Like that's how this all started, right? Like, as a kid, hearing music and getting that tickly feeling inside, it's all over. And you're like, oh man, I really feel this. And I'm still the same way about great music, even though I've been doing it my whole life now. Every time I hear a band or a piece of music that excites me, I get all goofy about it. And I have to find out more about it and like track it down. It's a weird thing. It's like this automatic attachment, right?
Yeah. Oh man, you're speaking our language. That's exactly, we are music geeks, music addicts. We can't play music, but that's our first love, like I'm a writer by trade. But if you ask me, what's your first love? I'd be like music. And most people follow that up. Oh, do you play? And I'm like, not at all. I just love it. And I know what I like. And that's how this sprang up.
I mean, I'm the same way, that's just what I do. But I think that connection that all of us share is what's so beautiful about music. It's, basically besides love, it's, the human race's greatest accomplishment, as far as I'm concerned, just being able to create this other language that bonds us all together in different ways. Pretty amazing.
Oh man, that's a great quote right there.
I don't know if I'm very quotable, man. Like a lot of the things I say may be disjointed and weird, but I'm like really happy to be here with you guys. I appreciate you taking an interest in the music I made and am making. That's great. Thank you so much for like taking the time and having me.
Honestly. Of course, man. When Caroline sent the press release, we miniaturized is fairly new, spawned from a Tom Petty tribute, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we obviously we recognize all the bands in the parentheticals. She was like, it's these guys, and we're like, oh, fucking A.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were on board before the music, and then the music fucking nails it too. So great.
I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you like it. I like it too. And that's kind of why like Carolyn and I are hanging out and like all these people are getting involved and having fun. It seems like a lot of people like it. And that's a really great feeling as an artist, and you played in, Boise, Idaho for 3 people on tour with your Screamo band or whatever, it's like, oh, here we are. It's like, they're going to love us. It's like just a sound guy, trying to turn you down the whole time. So like, I was in my first band as a little kid, like 11. And then, I've been doing it ever since. And, to all different successes and failures of different sizes. And I think that when people attach to things rather quickly, you take notice as an artist. You're like, oh, well, people like this, like the whole reason to make art is to try to communicate. So when people attach to something, you say, hey, maybe we should look into this a little bit more and see where it goes. And that's what's happening. And all these other guys in these great bands are playing with me. And it's really, kind of like we get that new band feeling.
Oh, dude, that's cool, man. That's refreshing to hear as a fan, first and foremost. That the love, the excitement, the jitters are still there when you meet someone that you have a connection with, and you make those first few notes and you're like, we got something here. And because that translates to us as a fan, we feel that in the music, and we're like, all right.
I feel it too. Thank you. I feel it too. And I feel with other bands and other artists, and I like sharing with other people who are fans because I'm no more than a music fan myself.
Oh, very cool. So, as a music fan, do you own a boombox?
Yeah, several actually. I have a big studio, and the bottom floors are a bunch of practice rehearsal rooms, like monthly lockout rehearsal rooms that I rent to bands. I started that a long time ago when I was touring all the time and couldn't afford to pay rent. And I figured, well, why don't I have to pay for a practice space? Why don't I just build one? So I built one, rented them out to a couple of my friends' bands. We'd go on tour and I'd come back and, the tour was totally shitty. I could pay my rent. And then I've expanded that over the past few years into like now I have 17 monthly lockout practice rooms in a building. And then the back quarter of the building is a really nice recording studio. And then all the people there record and I make records there for people. It's fun.
And the studio is called Phaser
Control. Yeah.
Control. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's just it's a great thing. All my musician friends are in the building and, kind of people in San Diego all come together and we make records. And my whole goal is to, pay attention to art and try to cultivate great art because that's important.
So maybe we got to put San Diego on our list to do live shows at some point and come out and bother you there.
Oh man, you guys got to come out. This is a great town, and the music scene is very close knit and very positive and accepting and wonderful about it. And they appreciate anybody paying attention. You know,
what's the venue there that I've heard of, and it's not hitting me right now. It's like a DIY. There we go.
Probably, or the Belly Up Tavern, which is another one that's really famous.
The Casbah is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
and I've never been to San Diego, but just we grew up punk rock kids in Florida, and it word travels, and
everybody who's anybody who's cool plays the Casbah, and it's still that way to this day. It's that way since it started in 1989, and it's still that way today. Like 5, maybe sometimes 7 days a week, you can go in there, and 9 out of 10 times there'll be a great band playing in there from all over. Bands still touring, hitting it. Really great.
Oh, dude, that's cool. Yeah. Definitely put on. So last year we started doing live shows, because fuck it. You come from the same sensibility of DIY, and if you believe in something, just go do it. And this year, we made another list. We're like, what cities do we want to go to? Let's make it happen. So we'll throw that on. We're working out logistics. So you'll obviously be the first to know because you'll be our connection there.
Yeah, my phone number, man. Call me up and let me know ahead of time because I could set you up here. There's a lot of really great things to see and a lot of good people to meet in
Very cool
music scene. And I think that it bums me out when bands put in work in San Diego and then they take off and go to Nashville, or they used to go to LA a lot, but now they're all going to Nashville. We're going to Nashville. It's like, what the fuck are you going there for? Like, there's dudes with their hats out on the street in Nashville who can play guitar better than anybody you've ever seen. I mean, it's a tough town, you got roots here and people like you, support your local scene and stay there,
Yeah.
You don't have to be like a big fish and leave your town. You should be a big fish that supports your town,
Well, also San Diego is a big city and a cool city. It's not like it's not for lack of, I'm trying to think of a shitty city. I don't want to disparage any of our listeners.
But I mean, every city's got its nice points.
Yeah, of course. Well, we grew up in Orlando, Florida, Abby and I. And at the time, we've talked about this many times. At the time, growing up, we were like, fuck this. We can't wait to leave. But looking back, we both agreed. We're like, great punk scene, ska scene, like a bunch of cool bands either came through or started. And we're like, man, I wish we would have realized how lucky we kind of had it.
Yeah.
Because not everyone does,
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think that anybody who gets to participate in live art and music as a kid, it makes an indelible impression. Yeah. And all my friends came up like that. And I mean, for a while, because I was a Navy kid, my old man moved around a lot. It was really I'd take buses to get the shows and try to find some kids who played music or whatever where I was, So, I mean, I think that if you have a drive to do it, it changes you. It kind of marks the kind of person you end up being, and it's a good thing.
Well said. You're full of quotes, my man. Don't discount yourself.
Sorry about my over exuberant energy. I'm always like this, and it gets on people's nerves. I talk a lot.
Bring it. That's what we're for. That's what we're here for. We were talking about San Diego. And keep in mind, dumb questions. It's called Bothering the Band for a reason. What's your favorite animal at the San Diego Zoo?
Oh, the gorillas. By far. And I'll tell you why. And it's kind of tragic because they know that they're in a cage and they're so just they've kind of just accepted it, but you can tell that they all look at you, make eye contact with them, and they look at you and they're like, you can get me out of here, man. Why don't you talk to the guys at the front and let me out? I don't want to be in here. And there's a sad, beautiful tragedy about going to see those things. I don't know what it is, but I have these amazing connections and they do these human-like things, and it's just a kind of an evolution in a glass jar. That's my favorite attraction.
Oh man, I'm so glad you had one in the holster.
Sorry, I go to the zoo a lot. I love it there. It's beautiful.
I love it. It's great. I love the zoo. We love the zoo. We love animals.
Yeah, it's like when they had Shamu at SeaWorld, man, and they shouldn't have kept that whale in a swimming pool. You know what I mean? They did have him there, and we would go see it, this massive whale in a swimming pool, and it's it doesn't want to be there.
Yeah,
I don't know. I love animals. I have my dog right here.
Oh, Abby, look.
And that's Beatrice.
Best part.
Beatrice.
She's amazing. She's so smart. She sees you. She says hi.
Yeah, she
She
was
watches
like,
TV. She watches me do everything. She comes to the studio. She's all over the place.
Jack Russell's a smart man.
Very.
Okay, if you were suddenly shrunk, aka miniaturized, what would be the first thing you did?
Wow, that's a great question.
So down.
You caught me off guard. Shit.
Wow, we stumped him.
Can I give this just a moment to ponder for a second?
Yes, this may jog your.
If I found myself miniaturized.
Well, this one may jog your whatever the fuck. But the follow-up question is, if you were suddenly a giant, what would you do for the first thing? So you can maybe play off of those two things.
I mean, just off the cuff, as a miniaturized person, I'd probably find my favorite food somewhere, because I would only need a little bit of it and I could eat it forever. Just like a crumb. Like, I don't know. I mean, really delicious mango.
Oh, nice.
I would eat that. I would be happy if I was miniaturized. And it seems like a trite thing to do, but what else can you do besides avoid being stepped on?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that goes for us in regular life too. What else can you do but avoid being stepped on?
Quotes.
As a giant, I think that I would watch my step and be careful not to step on people.
So very introspective and subversive. I love it. Okay.
My middle name. A stands for subversive.
This is still in the same vein. If you were an action figure, what two accessories would you come with?
Not what action figure I would be, but what two accessories would I come with?
Well, I think you can define it.
And it's really weird and kind of homoerotic that I'm so into these, as a kid, but He-Man, Masters of the Universe was my, like, I don't know. I loved Hot Wheels before I loved He-Man. There's something about just the He-Man figures. I don't know. I just thought they represented, like, at that point in my life, what I thought masculinity was. I was like, look, this guy looks like Conan and he's got an axe. So I'd probably, if I was an action figure, have a battle axe and a shield after, my He-Man action figures. But
Cringer,
not cringe. I mean, you know what, man? Like,
Battle Cat.
I when I got the action figures, my mom brought one home from the Navy exchange for me. And I was like, I just had one of them. And I was like playing with it in the mirror because I wanted it to fight the other guy. And then my mom felt bad for me. So she bought me another one so I could make them fight each other. And then I didn't even know there was a cartoon until a couple of years later. And then I had made up this entire Master of the Universe scenario in my head about where they came from and why they were so muscular and everything. And I saw the cartoon and it shattered my entire fucking vision of it.
Oh my goodness.
Great imagination. I was like, oh, that guy. Yeah. And He-Man didn't have a counterpoint. It was just some guy in a friggin' metal vest, and I was like, wow, man, this guy must be like, he must come from the dungeons somewhere because he's got a metal vest and they make him shovel coal all day. And that's why he's so huge. And he got liberated. I kind of like filled it in with the Conan story a little bit, but then the cartoon fucked it all up. They got these lame characters and weird flying ghosts, and none of that shit was in my room. So I was like, I wasn't into it. Sorry about it. I'm getting off on a tangent. I think as a human being, my two weapons would probably be a guitar. My two accessories would be a guitar and a pillow.
Fucking brilliant. Also, don't apologize. Tangents are what we thrive on. And I have to ask two He-Man questions. One, on Netflix, there's a show called The Toys That Made Us. And I believe the very first episode or the second episode is about He-Man. And you, without knowing, they made the toys first, and then to market them, they were like, what can we do? And at the
that
time,
makes sense. Totally.
Cartoons were big. So they're like, we got to write a cartoon, whatever. Sure, let's do a cartoon. And it happened to work.
Yeah, because when my mom took me to the He-Man aisle in the Navy exchange, there were only it was like He-Man, Beastman, Man-at-Arms, Triclops, Trapjaw, and a couple other characters that were on there, and there was no vehicles, there was no anything. And I'm like, it's cool. They're just figures. Then I can make up my own stories. And so that's what I did. And the cartoon, then I saw later when I was on the He-Man aisle in the Navy Exchange that they had the flying ghosts and these whole separate sects of warlords and stuff that the cartoon perpetuated, and they marketed it that way. I mean, that's how shit goes. I like the original idea I had where he was in the coal mine, personally.
Well, follow up to that is there's a new He-Man on Netflix, and
Really,
it's called like Revelation or something like that. And a bunch of
Animated?
people, yeah, animated, very, very well done. A lot. I watched it with my kid. However, I had to explain a few things. Like I think that was the first time I was like, "This is what death is," and yeah, because like I won't spoil anything, but like Kevin Smith wrote and directed a bunch of them.
Oh, no kidding. I love him.
And there's some voices that you'd recognize. It's a good wasted time. I wouldn't.
Okay. I mean, like the from the cartoon, though, it's pretty funny. The Skeletor quotes are the best quotes ever. You bumbling fool. You know, I mean, it's like the best. It's like the best stuff ever.
That was good, man. Okay. Totally off topic. What's your favorite kind of cheese?
Mozzarella.
Okay.
Mozzarella is the best cheese there is because it's versatile. You can put it on any type of food and it's delicious. Anything.
Good.
If you're having Mexican, you can use mozzarella. If you're having Italian, you can use mozzarella. If you just want to put cheese on a burger, mozzarella is amazing. It's the most versatile cheese. It's just a cheese for everybody. That's what I like about it. It's good.
Oh, goodness.
And
okay,
it's super gooey and delicious. And if you want to make nachos, mozzarella is your friend. You can put a little cheddar on top, but the mozzarella is the one that's super gooey. And you want to see that like in the pizza commercials. I'm telling you.
Okay. Do you get your mozzarella from Trader Joe's?
No, I don't shop there. I think they package all their shit too much. Like they have great food, but they're like in packages of 3. Like I don't want 3 of something. I want a lot of it if I like it. And then I got to go back and buy another fucking package. I shop at Smart and Final, which is like a kind of a mini warehouse store kind of place that has like bulk deals on stuff. And so I'll get like a case of vanilla unsugared almond milk.
Oh,
instead of just buying one at Trader Joe's, I could get a case of it because I'm going to drink it inside of like 2 weeks. And, 4 cups of coffee in the morning.
You're speaking our language. I like that I thought everyone with the initials TJ's had to shop at Trader Joe's. Like it was like
that was the association. I get it.
Yeah,
I don't even know what I have friends who worked for Trader Joe's. They're a great company, and like I know they make great food. And they're for a while there when I lived close to one, I was buying a bunch of booze in there. It was like a good place to get booze. It's like, this wine's pretty good. I'm going to get some more of this. And it was only like $2. It's delicious.
Oh, man. There's a friend of the pod, a great comedian who now lives in New York. His name's Matty Ryan. And he has a great bit about, he's like, yeah, Trader Joe's is great. Everyone's super fucking nice. You go in there. The food is relatively cheap. However, his favorite, and this is totally his bit, he's like, my favorite part of Trader Joe's is going to another grocery store to buy all the shit that I couldn't buy at Trader Joe's.
You have to do it. It's a 2-store trip for sure. I agree with him 100%. That's a valid point. That's almost like a Larry David moment, that whole thing. It's like, I got to go to another goddamn store to get what, it's like, it's really funny. It's true. That's why I don't shop there too. I can get everything at Smart and Final. Then there's unfortunately where I live.
Well, it is Smart and Final. So
it is. It's fine. It's Final. Where I live also, and within walking distance, there's this really deluxe market for all the swells that live around here. And it's like food heaven if you go in there. Everything is just like bursting at the seams with ripeness and beauty and deliciousness. And it's like all these specialty foods. Of course, it's like you got to bring your entire paycheck in there to eat, but it's so good. And I try to avoid shopping there, but I find myself like skulking over there because I can walk to like I'll get home from the studio, I'll be like, I'm beat. I want to get something. They have this amazing deli counter where they make all these fancy foods.
Oh, I love that.
I give in. I love to eat, man. Like I don't know. I don't deny myself a guilty meal here and there. I love it. So good.
We love to eat on this podcast. It's so hard. Honestly, we have a conscious thing of like, Too many food questions because it's so
dude,
easy.
ask away. I love food.
You know?
But I mean, like, it's funny that I'd like to talk to you a while about the smattering of posters you have behind you. I see a very shirtless picture of Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, well, I'm happy you bring.
Is he holding a samurai sword as well? I've never
He
seen
is. He's holding two.
I thought most of his, I can't see the other one very well. I thought most of his movies were like hand-to-hand combat and not weapons.
I mean, maybe for his headshots, they told him to put on or hold fucking samurai swords. But
is it signed by him?
It is to
So you met him?
Ryan. So this is the
That's
story.
a celebrity sighting for sure, man. Like, I'd like to meet that guy. I never met that dude.
All right,
I tell him I really loved him in No Retreat, No Surrender. You remember that one?
I do.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
No Retreat, No Surrender is like the cheesiest B movie, but he was awesome in it. He was so like ripped and like ready to kill people. It's good.
That's when like, how old are you?
Huh? I'm 42.
How old are you?
42.
Okay, so you're around the same age as us. We're 40. And remember like those not early 90s, late 80s, early 90s action flicks made it okay. Like all those B movies were okay and famous, you know, like so many Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme films, like you said, fucking like what was the Double Impact where he played twins?
So good.
Cyborg was great.
For sure. I much prefer him, even though he was kind of goofy and like lovable. That's what was so great about him, is he's like this killer martial artist, but he's goofy at the same. Oh, come on, guys! Hey, he was like so funny. I really loved. I think Bloodsport.
Bloodsport's fucking amazing.
Bloodsport was a great goddamn movie, man. And then, there's one other one that he was really great in. The one where he goes to the jungle and he trains with the monk, the little monk guy that takes him to the bar and gets him really drunk. What movie is that? And then he fights all those guys drunk and he's super awesome at it.
Is it Kickboxer?
Might be Kickboxer.
It might be Kickboxer.
Yes, that one's got the actual kickboxer in it, his brother. With the mustache. The guy was a real fighter.
Yeah,
for
and he
sure.
like dips his hand in glass.
Yeah, Tong Po. That was it.
No, that's right.
It's Tong Po, and they like did those. And like the villain had sex with his girlfriend, and so he beat him up. It was pretty good. That was a good one.
Well, I'll tell you this story real quick. Is that
Please.
I worked for a graphic design place. I was like a writer for them. And I came up with this concept. One of our clients was a Belgian brewery, and he's known as the Mussels from Brussels. And so I came up with this concept to do a Van Damme Day on his birthday every year for this client. And they went with it. And so I found his fucking like fan mail address and I sent him a flyer. And I said, if you know, this was in like South Florida, like there's no way. It was a shot in the dark. Anyways, flash forward. I left that company. I started freelancing. I'm saying like 3 years later, the boss, the guy who ran that graphic design firm, texted me. He's like, "Hey, what's your new address?" And I was like, "Oh," and I told him, I was like, "Why?" He was like, I have something to send you." And I got that shit in the mail years
fucking awesome.
later.
That's fucking awesome. Wow. See, man, and it also says a lot about Van Damme as a dude. Like, there's a guy who appreciates the love he receives and reciprocates it. You know what I mean? And I think that if the world had more of that, it would be a grander place indeed right away. You know what I'm saying? It's like, to me, it's like you should appreciate when somebody appreciates you, and you should give it back, and you should say thanks. There's a lot of taking and not giving back going on, and I think that a lot about, you know, that bothers me a lot. And I think I write songs about it quite a bit. You know,
I mean, that's our MO here, especially with people like yourself and Caroline, is just be polite and say, "Hey, we love this person. Let's have him on or her on the pod." We just, you know, want to ask some silly everyday questions like, "What's your favorite cheese?" Shit like that.
Yeah, I'm mozzarella. I mean, I'll say it again. I love all cheese, but mozzarella is, if I was going to be on an island and only could eat one cheese, that would be it, because you can make it taste a lot of different ways. It's really good. Versatile. I know people are boring. Those are people like Limburger or whatever. It's like, yeah, man, but blue cheese is my favorite. It's like, okay, I like that too. But for every day, if you got to be stuck with one cheese.
That's a good choice. I have blue cheese in my fridge right now, and it started like this from Trader Joe's, and I can't I can only take morsels because it's just too funky, man.
It's
too
pungent
funky.
and delicious, though. It's some days are
So
just
funky, though.
You got to take a big chunk of that, put it on a cracker, and just gouge it down. It's so good. I put it in salads a lot too. Delicious.
I put on eggs today, and
it goes, dude. An omelet,
pretty funky.
Shit. It's amazing. Don't get me started on cheese. I'll talk about it all day, man.
Well, let's see how you talk about this next thing. Do you really know the polka?
Do I know how to play it? Do I know the dance?
Either one. I don't know. You tell me. It's on your fucking LinkedIn.
It is? Oh, what did it say on my LinkedIn?
It said something like, it was polka and something else.
I was probably trying to be hedonistic by saying that. So I know how to play a polka beat. I don't know how to dance the polka, and I don't own an accordion.
Okay.
So
I got to get you an accordion for the studio.
I mean, you know what, man? I've had accordion players in that I've recorded who are really fantastic. It's a wonderful instrument, especially like in Tejane music and like Mexican music. They use accordion a lot, and it's really great. It's a great instrument. If you knows how to play one really well, it's like a great guitar player. It's like, I mean, like Weird Al Yankovic's a great accordion player.
Oh, yeah.
He rips, dude. Like you see that dude play accordion, it's like, holy fucking shit, that guy's amazing. Like real. And he writes cool songs too, even though they're parodies. They're still funny.
Oh, he's the best.
Totally.
Okay. Growing up, did you do when you're driving, you're in the back seat of your parents' car or whatever, and a semi truck, an 18-wheeler drives by? Did you do this thing to get him to honk?
No, I never did. But like I was on a bunch of tours with guys who always did it every time we go by a truck. And then when you're on the road and you're driving through Texas, and Texas is whatever, hundreds and hundreds of miles long.
Yeah.
And there's an 18-wheeler every fucking second car, and you have that asshole in your band. Every time it's like, whoa, you just get tired of it, man. It's like, stop. And I'm sure those truck drivers like, fuck you. I don't want to scare people with my loud ass horn. Because
I like that it's grown men too. Like, it's one thing if it's like a little boy, or little girl.
No,
like,
dude's like this guy, man. He would always do it. Kevin Stram. He would always do it. Like I love Kevin, man. He's a great bass player too, but he loved that.
But Kevin, stop doing the fucking honk.
Yeah, we would tell him, don't fucking do it. We would see Trust come out like, don't fucking do it, Kevin. And I think he started doing it after a while just to piss us off.
Yeah, you're just setting him up for
That's the kind of shit that happens on tour with bands. It's like you start nagging people on purpose.
Okay, what is your least favorite Tom Petty song?
Oh, least favorite?
Yeah, threw you for a loop there, huh?
I can't say any bad words about any Tom Petty songs at all, but one that I don't want to play is probably Free Falling.
That's what I would have assumed you would have said.
Yeah. Probably that song, even though it's a great fucking song and it was enjoyed by billions of people, you know, it's my least favorite Tom Petty song. I'll just say that.
I didn't want to be the first one to say it, but I have to agree. There's so many fucking great Tom Petty songs.
Oh my God.
And I have a weird relationship. Like there's moments in my life that I can remember when that song comes on and it is the perfect moment. And you're like, yes, but then that song will come on a day, 2 days later at a different moment in your life. And you're in and you're like, fuck this song.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that song connected with a lot of people. Also, it was popularized by Hollywood. It was in movies. Yeah. Like Tom Cruise screaming it and stuff. That as soon as Tom Cruise sings a song, it ruins it for me anyway. So it's like, you know, though Tom Cruise like this, fuck you. Just kidding.
He's a big listener, so
of course, man. And like the fact that he did that, like probably like, you know, I'm sure Petty was eternally grateful for that song being in that scene, you know. Yeah. And Tom was that kind of guy. He was very benevolent. He appreciated people a lot, and he appreciated art, and he appreciated his fans, and that's cool, you know. Especially for a dude who like went through his whole life not really giving a fuck about much but music and people, you know.
And from Florida.
Yes, Gainesville.
Yeah, man. So that brings me to the next question, and it's it comes from going down a music rabbit hole, and then suddenly discovering how many fucking great albums Rick Rubin has had a hand in, including a shit ton of Tom Petty tracks
Yes.
and albums. Wildflower, he's all
Yes.
over.
Yes.
So my question is, when are you going to work? When is Miniaturized going to work with Rick Rubin?
Oh, wow. That thought hadn't even crossed my mind, actually. I think Rick Rubin is an incredible producer, and obviously his body of work speaks for itself, especially was on Deaf American, and he, all the stuff he did in that era was mind-blowing. And the interesting thing is, I just recently saw a clip. I have to find the interview where Anderson Cooper interviews Rick Rubin just recently. And the clip I saw, I hadn't watched the interview yet, but the clip I saw, Anderson Cooper was like, "So, do you know how to
know music? Yeah, it's
you know how to operate a soundboard?" And Rick Rubin's like, "No." And he goes, "Do you engineer anything at all?" He's like, "No." He's like, "Do you have any technical know-how about music?" Rick Rubin goes, "No." And so Anderson looks at him and goes, "Well, why do artists pay you?" And he goes, "Because my ability to listen to something and say if I like it or not, somehow artists value that." That's what was his answer. And I'm like, fuck, I got to watch that interview. Amazing. Like, here's a dude who just feels music intrinsically, and he can hear an artist. And I know guys who've worked with him. You know, I've run into musicians, and I'm like, how's it working with Rick Rubin? And one dude, and I won't name any names, the band went to the studio, and they showed up. Rick Rubin showed up like 2 hours late. Like, "Hey guys, what's up?" Came in super casual, drove like a rusty, fucking shitty old diesel Mercedes up into I think he's got a Tesla now, or from what I hear, but back then he drove it in, and he was already like a really world famous producer. And he walked in, he's like, "Hey man, what's up guys? Super cool and chill. So play me what you got." And so they played their demos, and he didn't say a goddamn word the whole time. And they played like 15 songs for him. He didn't say one. Was he next one? Okay. And at the end, they're like, "What do you think?" He's like, "I don't think you have any songs yet. You got to write some more."
Wow.
And these guys have been working on this shit for years, and they were like, "Fuck you," and they took off, and they went with another producer entirely, right? Because he didn't feel what they were doing, and the other producer like did a good job on their record, and their record did great, you know. But like they turned Rick Rubin down because, like, as artists, as collaborators, you have to find people who feel your vibe. So would Rick Rubin feel my vibe? I don't know. If he heard my songs and was like, "You need better songs," I don't know how that would make me feel as an artist. So I don't know if I would like, he would have to come to me and be like, "Hey, I dig what you're doing," you know?
Yeah.
And I would say, "Cool, let's work together." So I don't know if that happens. I haven't reached out to him.
Or it's like some Buddhist shit he's into, where it's like you turn someone down and see how hard they push back. You
of
know?
course.
Like,
I'm sure
I believe in this one, you know,
I don't fault Rick Rubin for a second. And I think that, like, honestly, he's been right on the money with pretty much everything he's done. He's incredibly talented. So I got nothing bad to say about that, dude. It's just, you asked me if we're going to work with him, and I can't tell you. The producer we got to work with, Mitch Easter,
okay,
for the Miniaturized record, is a very world famous producer, and I was like blown away when I got the email from him asking, you know, telling me he was into my stuff. And originally I was going to just, like, after the Petty thing happened, we did that Petty tribute for the Grammy Association for charity. And like afterwards, I was kind of home for a couple of months and was writing all the time. And I realized, like, I had this group of songs that were just popping out of me, you know, and it had to have been the Petty influence.
Yeah.
Taking apart all those goddamn Tom Petty songs, because normally beforehand, like, all my shit was really angular and like hard and punchy and, like, you know, kind of like audio karate in a way, you know, and like these songs had more of like a song kind of jangle to them. And like, I've written music like that before, but never in bulk like that. So they kind of all started forming as a whole. And I'm like, "Hey man, this is something here. I should probably record this stuff." So I called the dudes in the Petty band, and I was like, "You guys want to come to my studio and we'll just get together and like jam these songs out?" And I started sending the demos, and they were like, "Yeah, man, this is cool stuff. I'll play. And I was like, "Cool, you know, this will be fun." And so I tried to coordinate a couple of recording sessions, or at least us getting together to practice the songs a little bit. And everybody's tours were going off, and all the other guys were playing out and busy. So it left me with more time to kind of refine the demos, and I started adding more stuff to them and kind of rewriting some stuff. And before I knew it, I was at the studio one day kind of working on some stuff. A buddy of mine stopped by to see me and he was listening to it and he goes, "What are you going to do with these songs, man?" You know? And I was like, "Well, I was just going to get the guys together and we're just going to crank them out and record them." And he goes, "Are you going to produce it?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You shouldn't do that." And I was like, "Thanks." And he goes, "It's because it's going to have the San Diego sound that you always do. Like, you know, you'll do it your way. And these songs deserve a different treatment." And I honestly owe it to my friend, Rafter Roberts. I'll name him. He's an incredible musician, incredible talent, for saying it. And I was like, "Well, who do you think should produce?" He's like, "I don't know." And the first guy he named was Mitch Easter. And I know Mitch Easter because my older brother, who was my biggest influence in music as a kid, brought home REM's Murmur, probably when I was like 7 years old.
Wow.
In the early 80s somewhere. And I was in my room playing Legos. I had Legos before Hot Wheels and before Masters of the Universe Legos.
Bringing it all back around.
Yeah. And he would always play these records, and the records I could hear from the wall were always like the big bands of the day, the Van Halen, Kiss, Def Leppard, good stuff, you know, big arena rock, Foreigner, Styx. He likes Styx. I always still make fun of him for that. Fucking hilarious. Styx has some good songs, but not all of them. Mr. Robot, bad move. So he put this record on, and I'm playing Legos, and the sound struck me. So I got up and I went and I like asked if I could sit in his room in front of the speakers. He had this big stereo he got at the Navy Exchange for his, I don't know, like 15th birthday or something. And I'm sitting in front of it, and the sound of this record completely shifted my perception about what the music I had heard before that my brother played. My parents like Lawrence Welk and fucking Mel Torme and shit. So like, this is my influence of
the
like
Velvet Fog.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad's a huge Torme fan, man. It's just weird. I don't get it. Loungy, weird. I don't get it. But still, he makes people happy, so that counts. So does Barry Manilow, who my dad also adores.
It's
My dad
crooners.
So I'm sitting there, and like this record, the sound of it changed my entire perception about how things should sound, you know, like, or how they could sound, how rock, it still was rocking, but it had some like ethereal vibe to it where you feel like you kind of climb into the song and live in there while it's playing. And I listened to the whole record with him, and he was like, "This is a masterpiece." And I was like, "It really is." And my brother was a big influence on me, but still, when I put that record on today, and I like the Radio Free Europe song comes on, and it's just like vibe of it. Mitch Easter produced that fucking record when he was like 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
In his parents' garage. Like, he was recording bands in his parents' garage, and he recorded REM. This band from Athens, Georgia. Then he had recorded REM's single, which was a punkier version of Radio Free Europe. And then they came back to him to record their first LP, which was that record. And I don't know, it made a mark on me at that age. And all these years later, just by osmosis of, you know, some phone calls and some emails and some stuff getting sent around, that guy is making like a record with all the songs that I wrote and me. I picked him up. He flew out from North Carolina, landed here. I picked him up at the airport. He stayed with me for like 10 days. And we drove down to the studio every day with all these different guys who I play with, and made the record. So like, I'm working with this dude who changed my life and altered my perception with music, like all these years later after I've gone my own musical path. And he's this great, amazing, like humble musical genius and a ripping guitar player, by the way. He also had a band in the 80s called Let's Active, which was like a big like indie rock band. They opened it for REM, like opened all over the world, you know, played with Echo and the Bunnymen and all these great bands.
Very cool.
And his songs are really intricate and amazing. So we didn't quite finish all the record here when he was staying here with me, and we flew out to, a couple months later, I flew out to North Carolina and stayed with him at his place in North Carolina. And he has this incredible studio behind his house. His house was built in like 1821 or something. It's 3 stories made out of bricks. It's got secret passages and like hidden rooms and shit in it. Like an eccentric, like successful music producer. If you could imagine somebody like that, like imagine like Phil Spector without the violence, like that's his house. It's like this, every room's a different color. There's like cool musical shit everywhere. And then he has this state-of-the-art, amazing studio built on his land in the back. And I was back there and I'm going through his studio and I'm like, "Oh, you made this Suzanne Vega record? Like, I love this record. I didn't even know that you produced this." He's like, "Yeah." I mean, like, yeah. And like, "Oh, you made this Pavement record? I did. I love this record." He's like, "Yeah." Wow. And he's so like his body of work is so ridiculous. And he doesn't take any credit for everything he does, you know? I have a lot of secrets about him and about the records he worked on that I probably shouldn't say, so I won't say it. But it's just like, wow, that was that guy playing that part. That was this guy. on that record that I know so well. And there's like records throughout history. So, and his studio is just this wonderland of audio amazingness, and like working with him, like he didn't change one stanza of anything I wrote. Like he thought my songs were great as is. He didn't want to change anything. He just made them bionic versions of themselves with his crazy array of like vintage synths and just his melodic ideas with some of the counterpoint stuff, and just the way he mixed it too. So the way he framed everything was in a way I could have never possibly, a conclusion I could have never come to with my own music. So that's how I worked with that guy. And it was like a connection from the time I was a very little kid and I didn't even know him until I was in my 40s. You know, it was just crazy to think about.
Dude, that's another, you're hitting us in the fields, because we've had some people on this podcast that we're like, we try to hold back the fact that we're like geeking out. We're like, we grew up like loving you. We had the guy from Presidents of the United States of America, the band.
Oh yeah, dude. Totally. I love that.
And it's hard to be like, hey, 30 years ago when I was like skateboarding in 7th grade and hacky sacking, I was listening to Peaches, like shit like that. And It's wild to be like, now he's in front of me like this. And
he writes children's music now, right?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, awesome. Another guy who does that too is the singer from Nerf Herder, if you remember that band.
Yeah.
Perry, from Santa Barbara, Perry Grip. He does children's music too. And
Perry Grip, that's who it is. Yeah.
And his music's great, but
he does all the like rain and tacos all over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Backpack full of burritos. Have you heard that song?
Yeah. I have a kid, so I know all that.
Oh yeah, it's the best. I have a kid too. He's 12 and he's a boxer.
Oh well, fuck.
Yeah.
I have a daughter. She's 8. She's an actress. At least that's what she's into right now.
Enzo, my son, is an actor as well. He loves he goes in. I put him in this camp over the summer where they make a musical production in 2 weeks, and they have like a full cast and they sing musicals and recite lines. It's like these 2 ex-Broadway proponents started this company. They used to work on Broadway, but now they write musicals for kids and have a camp where you go and you can be in the musical, and they put on 2 performances at the end of the camp.
Oh wow, that's very cool, man.
Yeah,
I love that shit.
Yeah, me too, man.
Couple more questions. Because you were talking about just recording and shit like that, who's the craziest person to come through Phaser Control?
Peter Murphy.
Whoa, shit.
I mean, you mean like mentally, or just like, whoa, this is crazy?
Both. Like surprising and absolute bonkers.
Bonkers Peter Murphy from Bauhaus I recorded.
Wow. Fucking Bauhaus.
I mean, dude, like you can look up the session, it's filmed and everything in the room. And he did this song. It was just him and a guitar player. And that was it, acoustic guitar player and him. And he stood in the corner of my studio and with a SM57 was like standing up and singing, and his vocal delivery was so goddamn impressive. It gave me like chills, but he as a person was a very odd individual, and he wanted me to unscrew his water cap for him. I needed water. I gave it to him, and he gave it back to me, and he's like, you want me to open almost my studio? You want me to open your water for you? He's like, yes. I gave it to him. And then later on, I can't say that. This is public, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We can talk about that.
He was a great dude. And I really the song to look up is Peter Murphy sings "The Prince and Old Lady Shade" at Phaser Control recording, and it's his vocal work on the end of the song. Like it's like, honestly, man, it's crazy. It's just him and an acoustic guitar, and the stuff he can do with his vocals was really impressive. But I think like an oh wow moment was when I got to work with that band, The War on Drugs. And that record of People Understanding had just come out, and I've been listening to it for like 2 months straight because I thought it was a masterpiece. And then the session came in and I was like, oh shit, like I love these guys. And they played all the songs I liked, and they were just such like down to earth cats from Philadelphia. Nice guys, you know? And
they're big time now, man. They're blowing up.
They were big then. When they came through, and they were just doing a one-off thing, like a live recording, like stripped down session in my studio. But it was awesome to get to work with them and hear those songs. I thought Manchester Orchestra was the same way. They were really good.
I love that, man.
There was some bands that I weren't so impressed with, and I can't say that on air because they're huge bands. I did Death Cab for Cutie. I did Ben Gibbard recently, and that was badass. Like watching that guy play and listen to his songs. He was a very nice gentleman as well. So,
very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Man, I can't wait to come to San Diego and just hang out at Phaser Control.
Dude, it's an awesome place. I'm very fortunate to be able to be there and to be the owner and to be the guy who makes records in there. There's one of my best friends and my engineer kind of works alongside me. Patrick Heaney is a massive part of it too. He's a really talented guy. And then the whole studio, I have a partner, it's kind of a silent partner. I mean, he's my mentor in life. His name is Jim Austin, and he's been my cheerleader and life coach and stuff for a long time now. And he's like, if I aspire to be half as cool as him someday, and then I'll be all right, But that guy's like, he's like Fonzie and Willie Nelson rolled into one. When you meet a dude like that and you're like, you see a guy who's got it figured out and you're like, I want to emulate that dude. Like that's my guy. He's my hero. People are like, who are your heroes? I'm like, that guy. He's awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I like,
and I know him personally,
heroes.
so it makes me feel even better about it. It's not some movie star that I worship,
Fuck yeah, dude. Shout out Jim Austin.
Hell yeah.
We'll send it to him. We'll tweet at him when this is.
He's not on social media.
Good for him.
He's mentioned a lot on social media, but he doesn't have his own channels. I mean, he does, but I don't think he ever goes on there.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like, fuck it. What do I need that shit for? I'm not trying to sell anybody anything.
True. Speaking of social media channels, you have a bunch of, let's list them off. You have TJ on the Move, right?
I don't think there's TJ on the Move. That sounds like a dance studio.
On the go,
Timothy Joseph at Large, I think.
At large, come on, I was close.
Those are two on the Move and at large.
Timothy Joseph at Large. You have Phaser Control, miniaturized.
Yeah, there's a lot. Dude, it's tiring, man. It really is. It's like the whole constant need to have. I would rather have conversations like this. If this could be the content that I had to put forth, I'd be so into, because this is the shit I do with my friends. We just geek out about music and play together all the time, and talk about bands we like and go see shows. Like that kind of shit's interesting to me. Like constantly following myself around with a camera and making duck lips and showing myself eating a fucking burrito doesn't sound exciting. And why do people want to see that? Why do people want to see that? Like I understand it's a new world and maybe I'm a little older now and but this isn't what I want to see. Like the TikTok generation and all this stuff. I know we have to do it, but I agree there's genuine connections through those channels. So, people I love and know, people I admire, and I follow them and they put up like articulated content. But you can only put up articulated content if you have articulated things to say and show all the time, right? So I have this juxtaposition and this kind of conflict with the fact that there's this constant need for like, here, put stuff up, but I'm like, oh, but that's not ready yet, or oh, that's stupid, I don't really want to do that. I'm constantly editing myself and wondering if this is the type of representation I want to put forth, like, because this is how I really am, and I don't think people could really take it all the time.
Oh man. I'm right there with you, Abby and I. One of the things we say as soon as we can, we need someone like an intern to just take over social. It's the thing we like the least. Yeah. We like writing the questions, we like researching, we love listening to the music and immersing ourselves in that. And the fucking conversation is the cherry on top. Obviously,
marketing yourself is a gratuitous, bloated, bullshit fucking job. It sucks because you feel so like, here, look. And as an artist, I've had that feeling my whole life, right? Like I put out a song, I was like, fuck, I gotta like show people this now.
Yeah.
Like I wrote this, about something really personal, and here I'm gonna like put it out in front of everybody, and I don't know if they're gonna like it, and they're probably gonna think it's lame, and it's gonna inside I'll like outside I'll be like, oh, it's cool, no worries, I don't care if you don't like it, and inside I'll be like, fuck,
Yeah.
So I was the same with everything. Now everybody's got to do that, and most people are lying. That's the problem, is like they're like filtering their pictures or like making it like their social profiles are these short reels of their life that are curated just so to make them look a certain way, but it's not really who they are, Yeah,
of course, man. We could honestly, we could talk about this for another fucking hour and a half, maybe even more. Forever.
Sorry, I told you I'm long-winded. My apologies.
No worries. It's just we don't, I don't want myself to go down that rabbit hole of being like fucking. Yes, darn it, look at me generation and fucking, so I do want to ask, what we end every episode with a song from the artist. What song do you want us to end this episode with from miniaturized.
Do you only have the 4 singles that are out? Or you have the whole record?
We have a link to the secret SoundCloud.
Okay.
And but Abby, how do you have to download, or can you do that through SoundCloud?
No, I usually buy them off Apple.
That's awesome.
She's the best, dude.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna send you guys. We're getting vinyl printed up. I'll send you both one when we get them printed.
Ah, very cool.
I appreciate your support. I think probably the one that's on Apple is why don't we play God, which I'm really tight with emotionally. That song has been my favorite since I wrote it, and I don't know why. And the way it came out, I don't know. It feels the same way. There's a video for it that we shot out in the desert. That's released too. It hasn't really gotten much fanfare because it didn't enter the whole hype machine that started later, but it's there. And I wrote a short story about a wayward preacher who had somehow lost his daughter. She'd run away from him because of the way he was behaving or acting or the way things were going in life. And he couldn't find her. And she was his young daughter, and he was alone and sad, and he was traveling the world trying to find her. And the video picks up where that's from, and it puts them both on this remote, desolate town in the middle of the desert on a dead ocean where he finds her. And so that's what the video is about. And my very good buddy, who's an actor and musician, and he's actually a part owner of the Casbah, and his daughter's starring it. The band's not even in it. And we went out to the Salton Sea for 3 days in the middle of July. It was 125 degrees every day, and we almost all died of heat exhaustion. But we got this video filmed, and it all takes place in this town called Bombay Beach, which is like this artist colony that's looks like it's from another world. It's crazy in there, and it turned out beautiful, and it sentimentizes the song the way I think it should feel. So that's what you should play. And if anybody is interested in watching that video, that's kind of a companion piece with it, I highly recommend it, because I don't know, it just seems to hit the nail on the head for what I was trying to get at. Redemption, like if you do something right long enough, even if you were a shitheel your whole life and you made a ton of mistakes that you had no possible way to ask forgiveness or make up for, if you're earnest and honest in your course towards redemption, eventually things will be right. You know what I mean?
Fucking A.
Eventually things will be right.
Preach.
As long as you stay the course and you don't try to hurt people or backstab people or lie to people. Like I think going, towards your goal in an earnest and honest way and will always meet with success in the end, and eventually happiness. And that's what we all need in the first place.
Holy fuck. I can't think of a better way to cap this episode off. However, I do have to ask, what's next for yourself and for Phaser Control and for Miniaturized? And
well, like I said, I'm really excited this year about the band because we're just now getting out. We've only played 3 shows. They were all really great, but there's a bunch more lining up. We're going to hit the road. We're going to go out. The record comes out March 31st. There's a single coming out, I think the 31st of this month, that's called The Most. And there's one more single coming out next month called Riots, which we're currently filming a video for. And then the record comes out March 31st, and we're going to hit the road and play songs for everybody. And so I'm excited. I'm just excited to get on stage again. I haven't been on really long tours in a few years. Maybe the pandemic, and I was between bands, and all this project just kind of started gaining momentum. It honestly, for small bands, touring is a lot more difficult now than it used to be. The music business has changed so much, and everything is so expensive, and gas isn't feasible. And you really have to have like a pretty solid plan and a pretty solid fan base to not totally go broke on the road, Yeah. So like that's another hurdle. I mean, the internet can provide, contact with people, but if you can't like move somebody in person, over wires, if you can move somebody, great. But if you're in person in front of them and you can't move them, then you might as well just hang it up, So we want to go out and connect with people face to face and meet new friends and talk about music and geek out on other bands, find exciting places and feel with people. That's the whole idea. That's why we do this all in the first place. Why I go to shows. It's why you go to shows. It's why I play music,
Fuck yeah, dude. Oh my goodness.
I'm
Well,
so appreciative you guys let me fucking go on like this all night and like hanging around for me and waiting. I know it's probably late there. Thank you so much for putting up with it, man. Like it was really wonderful talking to both of you and meeting you guys.
yeah, dude, this was
I
a
did most
blast,
of the
man.
talking. I just talked the whole fucking time.
That's
Jeez.
that's exactly what we want, and this has been an absolute blast. We're very grateful that we, put our ego aside and we're like, let's fucking do it. And we were stoked. We had some great questions, and you had some fantastic answers. And we can't wait to see where you head. If you're anywhere in our necks of the woods, we will be there.
Absolutely.
And as soon as we come west, we'll let you know.
You
And
have the door is flung wide for you, my friend. Come out, like please, like be my guest. I will show you around. You guys will love it here. It's a beautiful.
Awesome, dude. Obviously, our favorite thing in the world is just to talk music and geek out, like you said. And so thank you. This has been an incredible fucking episode of Bothering the Band. Everyone, however you got to do it, social media, fucking typewriters, whatever, go listen to Miniaturized. You won't regret it.
Thanks.
TJ, thank you so much, dude.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was so good hanging out with you, man. Appreciate you taking the time.